結款咧，紅山啲人咧，一定要嗌佢嚟美國。
I see. Yeah, 你阿媽同爸爸一生過來啊，係咪？所以你又過來啊，熱啦嚇。
過來熱慢慢咧，講整好嚟啦。
I see. Okay. There actually were three compelling reasons why my mother came over to America rather than, say, stay in China. The obvious, most compelling reason was that there was a civil war going on and we were nationalists and the communists were coming down and eventually they did gain control of the entire nation. So there was a safety reason to get out. She said on a personal level, my dad, as many Chinese bachelors who went back to China to find wives, was real clear that he was an American, he wanted to be in America, and he wanted to raise his kids in America. And then the third compelling reason was by coming to the States and eventually becoming a citizen, she could sponsor her own mother and brother's immigration over and under family preference. She said one of the things that made it hard was she was responsible for everything, and unlike the village where you had everyone nearby, all that child care and people helping you to take care of the kids, suddenly she had to do everything herself. And she is expressing that she didn't feel a lot of confidence, that she didn't really know what she was doing. Although if you ask me, I think she did a great job. So we're going to turn right. Like most Americans of any background, I was raised to be American, and a lot of that was nuclear family and being able to move around, go to different cities for jobs. And with the idea that it was primarily your parents' responsibility to take care of themselves. With Social Security, pensions, blah, blah, blah. This shouldn't be a big problem, and if at some point they're not as able, they should obviously be in a senior citizen home or assisted care facility. In Chinese society, I understand it's very different. It's probably much more common to expect at some point that your parents will live with you, if not right away, for reasons of caretaking and love, and also because they didn't have the Social Security system we had. When I started writing The Eighth Promise, I interviewed my mother, and I just found out an incredible wealth of information and understanding and wisdom. I really understood more fundamentally what these values were that also resulted in filial piety. When I really saw who she is and what she had given me, and I could articulate it and see how it acted in my life, then I realized if she's old, if she's infirm, why wouldn't I want her in my house? I mean, this is like having a revered, precious person. And that's how I think my change of heart came about. And in fact, I asked her at one point after my dad died, when her health took a decline, to move in with me, but she didn't want to. So when my mother said, well, thank you for making that offer, but it's not really going to work, she actually personified the symbiotic and reciprocal nature of filial piety. Thankfully, my youngest brother, John, stays with her and caretakes her full time. Later on, it's a standing invitation, if it works out, that she should live with me for whatever reasons. You know, right on, let's do it. So that's the way actually filial piety actually works. It's not an obligation. You know, you offer and then the person consider and they'll do what's wise for them and what's best for them. It's like a golden rule thing. You think of the other person in making the offer, and you think of the other person the way you accept the offer. I think for Americans, maybe before the war, we actually had many generations living under one roof, and when we became the new industrial society, the mobile family claimed ascendancy. And so I don't think it's that unusual. Maybe it was not as implicit or codified in our culture, but it not only is maybe economically a more viable option, but maybe one that personally and emotionally is more satisfying. And I think we should take a look at it again and consider that living that way is as normal as nuclear family.